rumours of this gun being released as an airgun replica by the boys and girls from Umarex flying around for quite some time. Now, often rumours of classic replicas by companies can either be dreamers suggesting it or a long time coming, and sometimes a disappointment when and if they do transpire. Well, I think it was quite fitting that this week's gun landed at my door, sent by the very nice people from Rothery's via Vector Air, just as I'd started rewatching the series Band of Brothers. Is this going to be worth the wait, or will it be a disappointment? Hello and welcome to AAR On Air. This week it's the turn of the Umarex Legends M1A1 Legendary. And before we start, it must be said this does not come into the disappointment category. Indeed, the complete opposite. Umarex have done it again. They've produced another must-have for plinkers, collectors and enthusiasts alike. Let's get straight into the walk around of this classic and iconic gun. Well, after the history lesson, that is. This really does have to be one of the most iconic guns of the 20th century, and most people associate this with either World War II or gangsters running bootleg liquor. It actually started life as an idea of General John T. Thompson around 1915 and started to be built in prototype form around 1917. It was intended to be a one-man machine gun that could be used to help clear trenches in the First World War and was nicknamed the Trench Broom. The irony really is that it was finished and ready to be shipped to Europe to be used as it was intended 2 days after the war finished, which then brings us into its first infamous appearances during the Prohibition period, when it was used by lawmen and gangsters alike. It was usually, though, the 100-round drum magazine version that we associate with this period, which was a different variant to this one. Now, that round Type C magazine didn't fit the M1A1 box type, as this was loaded by sliding it in from the side and had a top cocking lever action rather than the side action and initial 20-round loading box or stick magazine that was later changed to this preferred 30-round magazine, after users either taped two 20-round magazines together or in some cases welded them back to back to get that higher capacity. The military preferred the box type to the round C type because reloading was easier and quicker. It weighed less than the 100 rounds, it didn't rattle, if it jammed it was easier to cure with a drop-down magazine, and you didn't need to cock the gun before putting the magazine in. Not with the box system, where you did with the round larger capacity mag. Prior to World War II, it saw action in various theatres, including being used by the IRA in Ireland briefly. It was even used by the US Postal Inspection Services after a spate of robberies, and of course in such things as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. It also had such famous owners as Bonnie and Clyde. But of course, the M1A1 version, such as this replica, really was best known for its use in World War II, along with the M1 carbine I reviewed recently. It was mainly a close quarters weapon, and as such was issued to sections of the military that would find themselves in that environment. Paratroopers, patrol leaders, tank units, and was often used by non-commissioned officers, commissioned officers, and soldiers involved in raids on German positions. It had a high rate of fire, but received complaints about its stopping power with less than 1,000 feet per second, and accuracy issues over 50 yards from its .45 caliber ammunition. Hence, it was more suited to use in close quarter situations. There were 1.7 million of the different variances made in its lifetime, and as always, it was copied and used all over the world after World War II. It's probably the gun with the most AKA, or also known as, names. Tommy gun, street sweeper, annihilator, Chicago typewriter, the trench broom, Chicago submachine gun, Chicago piano, Chicago organ grinder, bit of a theme going off here, drum gun, the chopper, the Tommy boy, or simply the Thompson. This really is a piece of history that cannot be ignored. Enough of that, let's take a closer look at this CO2-powered BB version. One of the first things you notice when you get this in your hands is the weight. It is 3.5 kilograms or 7¾ pounds and feels solid and weighty, but that's still about 1 kilo short of the original's weight. So this was not a light thing to carry around for days on end. And those figures, by the way, are unloaded. The length is identical to the original at 810mm or 31.9 inches. Strangely, it feels longer. I put that down to the fact that we're so used to compact bullpups that this transition type gun feels long from butt pad to grip, and even longer when you're reaching out for that forestock. This just takes you back in time and adds to the overall feel of this gun. The wood on this isn't wood, that is, but blimey, it is excellent quality, so realistic, and the finish to it is first class. The rest is metal, and this adds to that weight and that very weighty feel. Again, the quality is terrific. Starting from the front, there is the post type open fixed sight. Moving back, you come to that forestock with its strap mount, which is crying out for a nice leather strap. And there are grooves for grip. Moving back further, we come to the metal square-shaped body and that drop-out 30-round box magazine. More about that later. On the left-hand side, we have the magazine release lever that wraps itself around the trigger guard and has a stippled thumb lift release action and a push forward on the finger to lock the magazine back into place. Behind that, there are two 180-degree rotating levers for safety and single and full auto selection modes. The safety is solid and secure when in use with definite clicks. Sadly, in the UK, the full auto mode is not selectable, so it's down to that fast finger work. Below this is the grip in all its original simple shape. Finally, at the rear is the third piece of faux woodwork, and it is so realistic. The buttstock, again with fitted strap attachment. On the top, we have the fixed sight, which highlights the intended use of this gun, as it certainly isn't to be used as any super accurate target work with that level of variance in the sighting. This was, after all, a shoot and spray item in the day. On the right hand side is the bolt action, and yes, this is a blowback for that original feel. Oh, bring on a shell ejecting version. That magazine then, it's a 30-round BB mag with the usual pulled down spring to load the BBs. The only comment I have is it would benefit from a cutout to hold the spring in place whilst you load it, just to save on the broken nails. Once all 30 rounds have been dropped through the hole, simply release the spring. The CO2s, and yes, I said CO2s because this little darling takes two back to back. Unscrew the bottom using the hex key, drop in the first one nose first, then the second one bottom first. return the screw, tighten using the hex key, and it does take a bit of a twist, and there you go. Now, it is quite possible to put an empty CO2 and a full one in if you intend shooting just a couple of magazines worth. But where's the fun in that? Get yourself plenty of CO2s and a fair few BBs too, because loaded with a couple of CO2s, you should be good for around 4 magazines worth. Now, they do state in the magazine not to use anything other than steel Umarex BBs. Power levels then. This isn't a pigeon pulverizer by any means. It is a fun plinker and collector's gun, and I'm not expecting high power levels. Put through the chrono, it saw around 500 feet per second with standard 5.4 grain steel BBs, which is around 3 foot-pounds or 4.07 joules, which is more than enough for a spot of safe, fun plinking. But it does seem to rattle down the range. It must be said that the blowback action does give it a really nice feel. Ironically enough, the comment around the original was that due to its weight, it didn't have a great deal of recoil and kickback to it. So, this blowback action is a welcome addition. The target work. Let's have a go, shall we, with that original design sight out at 10 metres originally. Here we go. Now, I don't think that's bad for a first attempt. Good enough for some plinking work. And after all, it's the shooting from the hip we really want to perfect. As I said earlier, this one was sent to me on loan to complete this review and sadly has to go back. But it has fulfilled in many ways a bit of a childhood dream or fantasy, and has been more rewarding than I can possibly explain in one of these programs. It is great fun. It feels so good to use. It puts you right back in 1944. It has a retail price of £299 UK, and to me that isn't a lot of money for this gun, considering the original Thompson was around $200 100 years ago. And at this price it's pretty obvious that these things are going to fly off the shelves as soon as anyone picks it up and tries it. I know they've got them in at Vector Air, and I know I'm going to be putting my name down for one. Who knows, maybe Mrs. AAR can have one as well. I feel a Bonnie and Clyde video coming. I really have enjoyed this one a lot. There's nothing to not like about it. They sometimes say you should never meet your childhood dreams and fantasies because you can be disappointed. Well, in this case, definitely not. It's been a real pleasure. If you like your historic guns and feel that Band of Brothers mood coming over you, then you're really gonna like this. Hopefully you've enjoyed this week's programme as much as I have. If so, please give us the usual thumbs up, subscribe, hit the alarm bell so you get notified when the next programme is released. Don't forget, there's all this lot to get involved with. There really is so much going on. Give the guys at Vector Air a look at, bear with them as they grow, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Fridays seem to come round so quickly with all this lot going off. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, shoot safe. Bye for now. Do you know what? I'm sure I've got some CO2s left somewhere. I'm going again.